Hey everybody, it is time once again for the weekly Rahdo recap, which means three things, folks. You know how this goes. We're going to be telling you about all the videos that went up on the channel over the last week. We're going to be telling you about videos that went up on other people's channels that I think are awesome and worth your time. I certainly enjoyed them. And then we're going to be telling you about new games I've discovered as I dig through the Board Game Geek database. And folks, this is week 3 for us on the road, although kind of feels like cheating. This is such a cushy lifestyle. This is our second week where I'm doing the recap from my sister-in-law's place in Central California in the foothills just south of San Francisco. And oh my gosh, it is so good here. We have unlimited power and water. We're not having to worry about solar panels or running out of our black tanks. They even have a dumping station here on site because they are also avid RVers. And oh, it has been great. But next week, folks, you tune in. We're going to be back on the road heading south towards Mexico. And I think things might be a bit more bumpy, but we've been having a wonderful time here. I mean, you can't see the forested hills right outside that window, although, man, it is so warm and sunny right now. I had to open up the windows, which means, sorry for the very dramatic lighting I've got going on. My little webcam can only do so much. But anyway, folks, enough about how the sausage is made. Let's give you the sausage. Let's tell you about a bunch of videos and games. As always, I'm going to start with the new exclusives that went up on the channel, and they were some doozies, folks. If you support the show by hitting that I in the top right corner screen to go check out Patreon, or there's a join button right down below if you're interested. The videos that went up for you were, first of all, my monthly Rahdo Ramble, which is a video log series I do every month. I talk about all kinds of things, extra countdowns, all kinds of stuff. This was a fun one. I talked about the 58 games plus expansions that are in this RV. What games did I choose to bring with us on the road, and how did I squeeze them into every nook and cranny I could in this RV? Well, I will give you a big tour, and it's not only just, the particulars of, getting them all in this big motorhome, but also, what are these games about? Why were they the ones that stood out when I could have brought X, Y, or Z? So that was a very, very fun ramble to do. I rambled for about a half an hour talking about these 58 games plus a bunch of expansions in addition to that. The other exclusive was fun for me. It was my first attempt at filming a run-through on this trip at the little dinette I'm sitting at right now. And it was my Rahdo Recluse show, where when Jen is away, I will play games for your benefit. Every month, I do a solo run through all the way through from start to finish, and this month it was the art project with awesome art from Vincent Dutray, and it's a game not about pulling off art heists but stopping art heists, and it's got some very, very cool co-op elements, and it was interesting to see how those worked into the solo game, and I had a fun time playing it, trying to save the world from art thieves. And so both those are available to you right now as a thank you to help keep Rahdo running. But now let's see what is on for everybody. What went up on the channel? Well, I put up a run-through of Pirates of Maracaibo, the sequel to Maracaibo, which is just sitting just outside of my top 10 games of all time. So I was very, very excited to see how Alexander Pfister, working with some co-designers, was able to streamline down Maracaibo into a game that takes up half the time to play, takes up less table space, but still has that beautiful Maracaibo feel, which this game definitely does, that racing through the Caribbean thing. There's a lot of interesting changes, and I really enjoyed playing it with Jen and bringing it to you. And in the run-through and final thoughts, I'll tell you what I loved and also what I didn't love, what I was kind of disappointed about by this new darling, which I think is going to be a big, big hit. Alexander Pfister, he put in the comments of the video, hey, it's going so well, I think we're going to be getting expansions, and I'm excited for that, especially if the expansions fix what was my problem with the game was. But anyway, you don't have to wait, folks. You can watch that Pirates of Maracaibo video right now. There's a link for it and every video I'm talking about down in the show notes, or you can just wait till the end of the video, and then I'll put up on the screen a link to a playlist of everything I'm talking about today. But anyway, so I did a run-through of Pirates of Maracaibo, and I also did a run-through of Kalimala Intrigue, which is the debut design from up-and-coming design superstar Fabio Lappiano, and I finally got a chance to play it. And this is with the new, it's like Kalimala 2. They tweaked and rebalanced some of the rules. They did a completely new graphic design and art from Ian O'Toole. They added a new expansion worth of content, and I finally got to see why a lot of people think this is Fabio Lappiano's best design to date. Very, very clever ever worker placement fused with about a bajillion area majority contests going on simultaneously. Very, very sharp. A lot of fun. The last game I believe I filmed before I left home, and it's interesting to compare and contrast what my filming used to look like for the last few years and what it's going to look like for the next few months. That's, anyway, Pirates of Maracaibo and Kalimala Intrigue. But that's not all that went up on the video, folks. I did a trio of rapid reviews, which are little videos that are generally less than 5 minutes, generally less than 3 minutes, where I just give you a quick summary of games Jen and I played and why we liked them or didn't like them. And the three I talked about this week were Furnace with the Interbellum expansion, which brings Furnace into my top 50 games of all time. Let's see, Nebula, which is in the running for my wife's favorite game of the year, 2023, and I say why in this little rapid review. And then also, Sea Dragons, which is, got 3 designers on them. One of them is Simone Luciani, one of my top 10 favorite designers of big, crunchy, heavy Euros. He made a gateway game. How does it work? Well, I'll tell you in these quick little sub 5-minute rapid reviews. Again, links down in the show notes. And then finally, one more video. I got my latest Rahdo Q&A, where I answer a bunch of questions. Probably the biggest topic for this Q&A was what my anticipation was for filming on the road and how being on the road for the next upwards of half a year is going to change the channel. And then I use that as a springboard to talk about how the channel is going to change when I eventually get home as well. Plus, we talked about other questions and answers, how to rank your games the easy Rahdo way, and other fun stuff too. The Q&A is always a good time. Hopefully you enjoyed, and send those questions to questions@rahdo.com, folks. We're going to be recording the next Q&A this coming week, so I need more questions. Email questions@rahdo.com, and you might appear on the next Q&A. Okay. That was it for my channel, but there are a lot of other great channels out there, folks. Let's talk about some of them. I don't know if you've ever heard of Game Court. I've been subscribed to them for a while, and I love their central thing is most of their videos are, let's compare Game X to Game Y, Game A to Game B. And I've been saying for years that that is something that some channels should monopolize, and this married couple, I forget what country they're from, but anyway, I very much enjoy them, and this was a big week for them because their comparison video that they went to Game Court this time was not just comparing 2 games, but comparing an entire line of games, the 19XX games from Looping Games. And in case you don't know, this is a series of basically tiny games that might as well be called tiny epic Euros. They're set in, I think all of them these days are set in the 20th century, and they went through all of them and compared and contrasted them and ranked them. And I love the extra attention to detail. They did them in the order of chronological. So they start with 1906 and they end up with 1998. From, what was it? From the San Francisco earthquake to the International Space Station and all these great moments in between. And again, it's a great little video. If you don't know Game Court, check them out. As somebody who lived in Europe for so long, I love having a nice thick accent, but they're easy to understand if you're predominantly an English speaker. And it's just a great vibe, what they do, directly comparing the strengths and weaknesses of different games. And this is their best one ever because they're doing an entire series of games. And you might not have heard of the 19XX series of games. I played a couple of them. They're excellent. And now I want to play even more of them thanks to Game Court. What else? Okay, alrighty. Next up, Chrome, I preloaded this. Why are you reloading it now? I preloaded all my tabs. I don't understand. I think my laptop just runs out of juice. I'm not quite sure what is going on. But anyway, right. Okay, what was this? This was the Game Design Variety Hour from board game designer Matt Dunstan. Now, he's a very successful designer. I love a lot of his games. And for a while, he was a really regular streamer on Twitch talking about the board game design art and giving advice to designers and whatnot. That was kind of his main thing. He took a break. He's back. For the first time, he streamed on YouTube instead of Twitch. And half of his show is talking about the new drive towards, it's not quite unionization of the board game industry, but kind of a an organization trying to look after board game developers. And so Matt had a lot of thoughts on this topic and what it means for the industry as a whole. And then the second half is he just did a bunch of Q&A with the live audience, and it's fantastic. Matt is fun to listen to, and if you're at all interested in the behind the scenes of the board game industry or just the art of board game design, you might want to go subscribe to Matt so you won't miss his next live stream. But in the meantime, you can check out this one. Okay, then, Emily. I talked about Emily a few weeks ago when she did her second run-through or review, I should say, for Shut Up and Sit Down, how she was so amazing. She brought me back in and got me excited about Shut Up and Sit Down. She's so amazing. Well, she has her own channel too. That's how Shut Up and Sit Down discovered her. The channel is Emily and Things. I am definitely subscribed. And this week she put up a quick little 10-minute Emily's Question Corner where she just answered some questions like how did she hook up and start working with Shut Up and Sit Down, and her own channel and all that kind of stuff. Fascinating, but more importantly, so wonderfully entertaining. She is quickly becoming my favorite person in all board game media to watch. She is so engaging, so charming, so sharp. Really, really sharp too. In amongst all the jokes, she's really dropping pearls of wisdom as well. And Emily, I don't know if you're going to hear this, but just in case you do, if you ever have enough of those Brits and you'd maybe like to do some run-throughs with an old crusty American, oh man, I think Emily would do amazing Rahdo run-throughs. But I'm not trying to poach. This is not a poaching effort. I'm just saying, Emily, I am your biggest fan. I stan Emily, and she put and you'll see why if you check out Emily's Question Corner, which she put up on her channel, Emily and Things. Okay, what else? Alrighty. I preload all the pages. I'm going to have to wait for every one of them to open now. I don't know why. But anyway, there we go. Pencil First Games 2023 Look Back and 2024 Game Preview. This is Eduardo Baraf, Edo, he's also known as. He's the guy who runs Pencil First Game, which does a wonderful series of, all kinds of games. Really, really nice, sharp, well-produced, beautiful, pencil first, lighter, quicker playing games, often teaming up with Steve Finn, one of my favorite designers. And Edo did a big breakdown of how the year has gone for his company, what games he's brought out, how is the industry going as a whole, how is he navigating the tough waters, and that's all cool and interesting, but what's more important is the second half of this video where he talks about what's coming next, what he's bringing out in 2024, and he mentioned several games, and you can't hear about these games anywhere else. They're not on Board Game Geek. I looked, but I am very excited, and and Edo's just a really charming, lovely guy, just fun to listen to, and folks, you will hear about some very, very cool games if you check out the Pencil First Games 2023 Look Back and 2024 Game Preview. All right, well done, Edo. Next up, we have got the 2023 People's Choice Top 200 Solo Games Part 1. This is very cool. This is like the Avengers of solo gaming getting together. Liz Davidson of Beyond Solitaire brought on Derek, Kanji, Maggie of Thinker Themer, and Jason of One Stop Co-op Shop. And the four of them, although for the most part it was three, Jason showed up a little late. But he was late to the party, but it was great to have. But all four of them are going entry by entry through the 2023 People's Choice Awards from the Solo Gamers Guild on Board Game Geek. So this is a list made by the biggest fans of solo gaming out there. Apparently they do this every year. I did not know. And this is the first half. They went through this super friends team up of solo media folks. Broke down the top 200, which means, folks, you want to subscribe to Beyond Solitaire so you won't miss the 100 to number 1, which I'm sure is coming soon. But anyway, it was fun listening to them talking about their experiences playing all these games from the one-player solo forum, which is a great forum, by the way, too. If you are at all into solo board gaming at all, you must do not walk to check out the 2023 People's Choice Top 200 Solo Games Part 1 on the Beyond Solitaire. Great job, Liz, bringing this super team up together. That was really, really cool. All right, next up, we have got, Danny of Board Game Sanctuary, right? It's Sanctuary. Yes, yeah, Board Game Sanctuary. I just know him as Danny. I found him a while ago, and there have been several of his videos. Several times I thought, oh, I should bring him in. But when I saw this one, he did a top 10 games to buy for new gamers this Christmas. I'm like, okay, Danny, it is time to recap you because well, first of all, the main thing Danny seems to focus on is shorts, YouTube comedy shorts. And I hate shorts for the most part, but if I see Danny has one, I'll watch it because they're always amusing. He's just kind of doing, comedy about, the peccadillos of board game fandom and, why are we like we are the way we are, players? Well, Danny does a series of shorts where he just investigates that. But occasionally, he does longer form videos and breaks down, and this is, I don't know if this is the first Christmas buyer's guide for 2023. It's the first one I've seen, and it's an excellent one. It might be the first and last one you need because he talks about a bunch of excellent games. I mean, even if you're not interested in, holiday gift buying, these are just great games, and Danny is a lot of fun listening to him talking about what makes them special as he shows off all the components to really good effect. And, this is focused on new gamers, but I mean, these are all games that are good for gamers too. So if you have not checked out Board Game Sanctuary and you like board game comedy, well, you should subscribe just for his shorts. But if you just want to hear some suggestions for stuff to get for your loved ones, you don't want to miss the top board games to buy for new gamers this Christmas. Yes, folks, holiday shopping is here. Halloween is over. It's time to get going. Okay. What else we have? Okay. Oh, right. My last one is Tim Chewin. And normally Tim does really beautiful, high quality board game photography, videos and all of that. But this is different for him. I don't know why. He didn't mention why. He's in Japan right now. And so he decided to do a quick 6-minute video doing a tour of Japanese board game stores. And it was fascinating. It was really interesting to see all the games that were available. And really, it's mostly 6 minutes of him moaning about, I want to take this game home with me. I don't have enough space for that game. But it was also just really to see board games in a whole different light, in a whole different part of the world than what I'm used to seeing anyway, which is where I really enjoyed Tim's really quick, rapid-fire tour of visiting board game stores in Japan. Right, so that was all very cool. Anyway, that's it for videos, folks. Now, I've got 3 games. 3 seems to be the magic number this week that I want to talk about that I found on Board Game Geek. Let's go with the big one. The big fish has got to be Diablo, the board game. And now, sadly, there is very little information here as yet. I mean, practically nothing on Board Game Geek. I went actually to the webpage, and all there is, hey, we're starting our crowdfunding for Diablo, the board game in 2024, and we're going to be great. There's going to be dark fantasy, and there's going to be inner struggles and narrative depth, and practically nothing. This says nothing other than just showing you the box. So actually, while this is pretty, I'm going to go back to the Board Game Geek, which is less pretty, but there are a couple things of note. First of all, I should say, I played the bejesus out of Diablo 1 and Diablo 2, and so did my wife. This is long before we discovered board games, and we played tons of cooperative video games together. That has been replaced. Board games have completely supplanted video games for us, but I think both Jen and I have a soft spot for Diablo. Stay a while and listen, is something we still say to each other to this very day. It's part of our vernacular. And hardcore Diablo fans know what I'm talking about there. Anyway, though, right. So, Diablo board game, there's a couple things that I was able to tease out of this Board Game Geek entry. One, the mechanisms. Cooperative, role-playing, scenario, missions. You get pretty much what you'd expect. They didn't mention dice. Now, a boy can dream, and I'm sure there's going to be dice rolling aplenty in this game. How can there not be? But if this has deterministic, massive waves of enemy combat, myth without the baggage of myth, color me excited. I am very, very interested if they decide to do something other than, Cool Mini or Not style dice-a-thons. They probably will, but I'm cautiously optimistic because they could have put it here and they didn't. It's so easy. There's no reference to mention of dice anywhere. But there's another thing too. Diablo the board game, along with its direct companion tabletop RPG system, will fuel one another with interchangeable game components, shared accessories, and complementary expansions with overarching events from a fully integrated product line. That's fascinating to me. Now, I could easily guess what it means for, hey, if you like the tabletop role-playing, buy the board game and you'll get a lot of miniatures. That's pretty straightforward. But what I'm interested in is, how does stuff from the tabletop game, the role-playing game, the Dungeons & Dragons style experience, make it back into the board game? I don't know, but I want to know. I could guess. I could say what I hope it is. What I hope is, a tabletop role-playing game is all about giving players tools to create their own adventures. What I'm hoping is that players, dungeon masters, or whatever they call them in Diablo, hell rule, I don't know. Hopefully, they can take their adventures and port them into the board game, so that you kind of have like a thing going on. You know how Isaac Childress of Gloomhaven fame just makes tons and tons of free content that he gives away, extra missions you can play in Gloomhaven and Frosthaven and all that? Maybe the Diablo system will let players and dungeon masters, again, whatever they're called, do that. That would be amazing. I don't know. It's too early to say. There's very little information. But again, I had to mark this and put this on my wish list because I'm a diehard Diablo fan, and there are some interesting tidbits there. All right, what else have we got? Okay, another thing where there's nothing to show, but I'm excited anyway, the Isle of Cats Explore and Draw Boat Pack. Oh, baby. Isle of Cats, the Explore and Draw, is unique in that it is in, I think, my top 3 greatest polyomino tile layers and also my top 3 greatest roll and writes. This is one of the rare games where, hey, we've got a big successful game that everybody loves. Let's make a roll and write version of it. And usually those are nice and interesting. They play faster, but they're never as good as the original. For my money, Isle of Cats Explore and Draw is superior to the original Isle of Cats. So you can imagine how excited I am that it's getting its first expansion. The Boat Pack with new boats, with new layouts, and who knows what. I'm excited, folks. Cannot wait. And then I've got one more to talk about. Meeple Inc. Now this is very interesting. This is a worker placement game set in an alternate 1970s where board games are the most popular form of entertainment in the world. So there's a major industry for making board games. And I guess that is true. That's not that alternate. The weird thing is it's a world where meeples coexist with humanity, and meeples are the workers and humans are the managerial class. I don't know if there's some kind of sociology statements being made or socioeconomic power dynamics. I don't know. Or if they just thought it was cute. But the important thing is, what I know from the gameplay is very, very interesting. This is an industrial, gather resources to produce a product and make point style game. I generally tend to love those. One about a board game manufacturing especially interesting because the components. When you're making your board games, you get these little boxes that represent the games, and you have to fill them with pieces that represent the actual components. Is this a dice-driven board game? You're going to put a die in the little box, and when you get all the components in there and you close it, you then put it up on a shelf to score it. Oh, it seems adorable. So the production looks like it's going to be very, very cool. The worker placement, I believe this is one of those ones where you send out a bunch of workers and you have to spend time calling them back. You've got your meeples that do work on the factory floor, but then you've also got, the executives who sit around a table and give you special powers and whatnot. So, I mean, I could be cool. But, I have to admit, I'm mostly here because of the components, but there is one thing that is very, very intriguing to me, which is basically, if I can come back to the description, it says it in here somewhere. I'm not going to look for it. Oh, here it is. Yeah. Offers a novel take on worker placement where players are rewarded for paying attention to and predicting the action of their opponent. Now, here's the deal, folks. I've read the rule book for this. I'm evaluating right now whether I'm going to cover it for the channel when it goes on crowdfunding. I'm kind of positive about it, and so is everybody else. I think Shay said yes. I think Ruel said yes. I think Kimberly said yes. I don't know if Amy and Maggie have said yes. But from reading the rules, here's what I understand. This is a game where you have to spend a timer calling your workers. And when you do that, you also play some cards face down. And you're betting on what you think your opponent, what worker placement spots your opponents are going to do before you then have to recall your workers again. And then you drag it out and try to get as much done and hope you anticipated where your opponents are going to go so you can get an extra payday. That's really fascinating. I really like that idea a lot, which makes me very, very interested in putting on the wish list Meeple Inc. And folks, that is it. We are done. Another recap, although I'm just getting started, folks. I got to shut these windows now and get this sunlight under control so I can film some run-throughs. Time to bring this down. But folks, while I'm setting up, there's the playlist. Boom, right there. There's the way to subscribe so you won't miss these run-throughs that I'm going to be filming that are coming. And if you want to know those exclusives, there's the Patreon thing right there, right? Okay, folks. Got to get set up and, it's getting hot in here. I'm about to take off all my clothes. Let's stop there.